kind of made it known that you were sort of like in the closet about not believing until a couple of years ago, but they know now, I assume.
Yeah. So I had a moment, with my mother, and this is probably probably like 8-9 years ago now. And we had we sat down, and there was I think I started to make jokes about it, as we would have like family get-togethers or dinners, stuff like that. And eventually she just came up to me and, asked, like, in the middle of one of my sort of smart retorts, she said, what is that supposed to mean? What are you saying? Do you tell me you don't believe? And told her just straight up, this is probably the best time. No, I don't. And I don't really understand why you do either. So we just had it out in that moment. And I think after I got past being able to say it to my mother, it was really easy to say it to everybody else. So yeah, it was tough, I think, in the beginning, just because there's a certain loneliness associated with feeling like you see something that other people don't. I don't want to compare it to being like a theist in a world of atheists, because it's a little different than that. But I feel like
I don't think there's such a thing.
I don't think so either. Right. So, but if you can imagine being in a place where, the logical answer, or the logical path to where I am, my reasoning seems pretty straight to me. And instead of taking that path, I feel like everyone would prefer to either zigzag or go off the road. Like, they prefer to off-road. So you're just on the path by yourself. Like, that, this is the shortest way to the most truth, but it doesn't seem like anyone else sort of cares about the truth. So I think in those years, I spent a lot of time just figuring out, why I cared so much about, having the right answer. And it was because I cared about, believing in as many true things as possible. So once I settled there, it was a lot easier for me to have the conversations with everyone else. And, I think it's just lonely in the beginning. That's really what it boils down to.
The people around you guys, so in your peripheral life, were still believers. So how was that experience?
One word, traumatic. Everybody who I knew, who knew other people, the whole community was religious, right? So there were, rumors and gossip that, I'm Satan, or I've been bewitched, or I'm these types of things, and just kind of the judgment before even having a conversation with me, or not wanting to hang out, or if I were to say, hey, what are you guys doing like this weekend, something like that, everybody's busy, stuff like that. I was very much trying to believe it, and I got to a point where, reading this stuff, and I'm saying, hey, this doesn't really seem like it's a good club for, women, for example. I look at my mom, and then I look at what, how women are, discussed in the Bible. And I have a disconnect where I say, I don't look at my mom that way. I feel like maybe this is messed up. And, and I would try to bring up those specific verses or passages. And then, at the time, there wasn't really internet, right? When I was growing up, like, there wasn't internet, or I couldn't go to the library and say, I want to look up these other religions. My family would be the ones taking me, right? So it was kind of, I was isolated. I was on isolation island, party of one kind of a thing. And I didn't really have outlets, like I said, to the internet is great, to have community and stuff like this. Even just 10 minutes having a group like this back then would have been great. So yeah, my little secret, I guess, as kind of what John was saying, a little bit piggybacking what he was saying, my little secret was, I don't really get this shit. I don't fucking believe this shit. But I need to. And, you go through your history class, right? You're getting older, you're going through your history classes, and you start getting more information about your ancestry and things like that. And you start thinking, putting two and two together and saying, wow, that's a good reason to have a disconnect. And then I start asking questions. Why is it that pretty much every Black person that I know subscribes to this?
Yeah,
And
we're going to get into that a little bit more in the next segment. I just want to ask really quick though, how is it for you now? Do you still, is it like, okay, like not a big deal that you're an atheist, or do you find you get like resistance from people in your family or people you know? How big of a deal is it?
Had you asked me that 2 years ago, it would have been much of the same, very much distant with everyone, cousins and cousins and cousins, everything. I have some cousins that kind of reached out, extended olive branch, straight up just telling me, you know, we don't really care.
But Cynthia, you were a believer for longer than Mike or John. And not only that, but you actually was trying to get into the ministry. And so I'm wondering what that looks like now to people who may be related to you or other people in the African-American community who you associate with.
I believe that if I were, even though I had my doubts, I mostly kept them to myself, or I would just explain them away by saying that I lack faith and I need to try harder, especially when I got into the whole I'm saved now position. So when and I think that also specifically with my family, it was not as much of a shock because, you know, I became Buddhist first. And when I became Buddhist, like that's when all the questions started. Well, why are you chanting? Why are you Buddhist? Why are you not this anymore? Blah, blah, blah. And I believe this is one of the things that actually made me really disenchanted with the church was, and especially in that, in that particular denomination or non-denomination as they call themselves, is that I felt like the pastor just had way too much power over the people. You may want to fix some wording when it comes to your mission, you know, like general critiques that I would think that any person would give in order because they care about the church and they want the church's, you know, marketing area to be the best as it can be from their standpoint that they saw. So instead of like the pastor being like, thank you for your feedback, you know, we're gonna take these into consideration and see that what we can actually fix or change, he accosted the man. He accosted him in front of the leadership. Like, when I asked for feedback, because he was basically saying, when I asked for feedback, thank you, I will take my slice. I like strawberries. I was not asking for criticism per se. I was asking for you just to basically say, amen, this is great, you know?
Agreement.
Yeah, it's kind of just like the shut up and dribble type thing. Like, you know.
So you embarrassed, or well, the preacher was embarrassed.
Right.
And so instead of being humble and demonstrating humility, it sounds like you demonstrated the opposite of that, which made you feel some type of way.
Yeah, even though I can't stand that phrase, but it did make me feel some
Let
type of
way.
It's okay. It's okay. No,
Let me apologize for code switching just there, because I think I just did that. I don't normally, I wouldn't say that on a live stream. So
no, you're good. You're good. But no, that's kind of how I took it. So, you know, it was just different instances like that actually showed that, you know, the pastor just had, like I said, way too much control. So I'm just like, you know, so who are we worshiping, God or the pastor? And I cleave to the whole, there's neither Jew nor Greek, male nor female, you know, bond nor free. We are all one in Jesus Christ. Like, you know, because I believe in equality and I still do, you know. So when I seen these particular events popping up, like in leadership, I was like, whoa, what is this, right? So that just really just caused like a lot of disenchantment rather in me. And so
when others saw this, when others recognized that about you, did they start treating you differently, or were you open about it?
Yeah, they were, because like because I wasn't really like in lockstep, completely with the leadership. And so since I wasn't in complete lockstep with the leadership, and even though like I kind of kept like some of my my oughts to myself, I still I can't hide nothing. I don't play poker with me. I would give away everything,
Mhm.
and and
How about now? How about nowadays? Do you feel like you're separated, or I don't want to use ostracized, that's a strong word, but do you feel like you're a little bit disconnected from the African American community because of your atheism?
Well, I mean, well, like that's why I was saying that it's a bit different for me because I'm older.
Mhm.
I like, because like part of the things that I do is, political, and I'm involved myself in, social justice work as well. And a lot of people that I work with are Christians. And so I kind of like, put my atheist hat down for a little bit in order for us to get work done, but all of them know I'm atheist. I don't hide that from anybody, and I don't get treated differently just because I am. And I think that one of the reasons being is because I'm very much so unapologetically me. Now, I will say that I do get the occasion of proselytization from some other people who may, if it does come up in conversation, yeah, by the by, I do. I've been Bible beat, not in the recent times since my atheism, and
Mhm.
I had to shut that shit down. I was just like, look, like, one of the things you're not going to do, and I think that the only way that I shut it down is that I said, look, you cannot prove God exists. No one can. And then they were like, yes, I can. I said, no, you cannot. No one can prove God exists. And they said, well, then prove God doesn't exist. I said, I can't. That's why I'm agnostic atheist. I don't have that. But then again, like, I don't say out of my mouth, God does not exist. I said, I just lack a belief in God. There's a difference, right? Because there is a lack of empirical evidence to support an existence of a God or gods.